This experiment is the kinetic study of the Persulfate-Iodide reaction. We're going to measure the rate of our reaction, and from that we're going to be able to determine the order with respect to persulfate, the order with respect to iodide, the rate constant, also the frequency factor, and the activation energy of this reaction. So this particular beaker that is in front of me, I have measured out 1 milliliter of starch, 2 milliliters of thiosulfate, 5 milliliters of iodide, and that is what is contained in this beaker. I'm going to ask you to measure the time from when I pour in the persulfate until you see the first hint of blue. Once you see the first hint of blue, you can stop your timing, and you're going to use that in order to calculate the rate of this particular reaction. So this is all of the volumes for experiment 1. Are you ready to start timing? Here is our 5 milliliters of persulfate. Here we go. Okay, the temperature of this particular reaction is 24.2 degrees Celsius. All right, this is experiment 2. In this beaker, we have 1 milliliter of starch, 2 milliliters of thiosulfate, 1 milliliter of water, 4 milliliters of iodide. We're adding water now to try and keep the total volume for the reaction constant. Okay. Are you ready to record? Here is our 5 milliliters of persulfate. Temperature of this solution is 24.2 degrees Celsius. Here is experiment 3. So 1 milliliter of starch, 2 milliliters of thiosulfate, 2 milliliters of water, 3 milliliters of iodide. And I'm about ready to add the persulfate. Are you ready to record? Here we go. All right, the temperature of this solution is 21.2 degrees. Here is experiment 4. 1 milliliter of starch, 2 milliliters of thiosulfate, 3 milliliters of water, 2 milliliters of iodide, and 5 milliliters that I'm going to add of persulfate. Here we go. Get ready to record. All right, temperature of this solution is 21.2 degrees. This is experiment 5. And so now we're going to keep the iodine concentration constant and vary the persulfate. So in this beaker we have 1 milliliter of starch, 2 milliliters of thiosulfate, 1 milliliter of water, 5 milliliters of iodide, and I'm going to add 4 milliliters of the persulfate. Are you ready to time? Here we go. All right, the temperature of our experiment is 21.2 degrees Celsius. All right, this is experiment 6. 1 milliliter of starch, 2 milliliters of thiosulfate, 2 milliliters of water, 5 milliliters of iodide, and we're adding 3 milliliters of persulfate. Ready to time? Here we go. Temperature of this solution is 20.5 degrees Celsius. This is experiment 7. 1 milliliter of starch, 2 milliliters of thiosulfate, 3 milliliters of water, 5 milliliters of iodide, and we are adding 2 milliliters of the persulfate. Ready to go? Here it is. Temperature of this solution, 21.1 degrees Celsius.